Hi, my name is Ryan Post. I'm the current chapter advisor for Beta Tau chapter at Valparaiso University. I'm here to talk to you about committee structure. Congratulations on being elected second counselor. The second counselor role is vital to a chapter's success as you are responsible for the internal workings of the chapter. Effective committee structure is pivotal in achieving that success in an efficient and effective manner. I want you to think about the current state of your chapter meetings, specifically the second counselor report. Let's say that it's time for the social committee report, and the social chair stands up and he starts talking. He says that we need to plan a sorority mixer and asks, guys, which sorority should we have our mixer with? Soon enough, all the brothers start chiming in with their suggestions. One brother suggests one sorority, another brother suggests another. They're throwing out suggestions left and right. Nearly every sorority on campus is suggested. The chair then asks what day works for everyone, and again, rambling ensues. Before you know it, 20 minutes have gone by, and you guys haven't decided on your mixer yet, on date, who you're going to have it with, or any other detail. So let me ask you, are your chapter meetings chaotic, full of rambling, confusing? Are they lacking accomplishment? Do they last too long? And are they frustrating? One thing that you must understand is the second council report is your report. Don't let committee chairs give their own reports, as this only inserts noise into your meeting. Have the chairs submit their report in writing before the chapter meeting. This allows you to review them beforehand and find anything that may fall through the cracks. It's going to allow your chapter meeting to run much more smoother, because your chapter meeting is not a committee meeting. You want to make sure that you hold meetings with your chairs prior to the chapter meeting, whether one-on-one or in a group setting. You want to meet with your committee chairs to ensure progress is on track and to sort out any issues. You also want to set clear expectations. Without clarity, disappointment will only ensue. Now let's talk accountability. Who is responsible for committee work? Who is accountable for committee work? Simon Sinek says, accountability is hard. Blame is easy. One builds trust and the other destroys it. As second counselor, you are accountable for the internal workings of the chapter. And then as we drill down, your committee chairs are then accountable for the committee work. Remember to ask these questions. Are the committee reports asking for further input? Is there a lack of progress? Are the results not what was expected? Go back to the example of the chapter meeting where the social chair is asking for further input on what sorority should we have the mixer with. Was there a lack of progress? Were you expecting to have that event all sorted out by that date? If you're finding yourself answering yes to these questions, then there's likely a lack of accountability. Now, I've talked about some of the negative traits to look out for, but let's talk about some of the positive accountability traits. There are many positive traits that you should work to foster in your relationship with your chairs and your chapter. Obtain the perspective of others. Not everyone shares the exact same viewpoint as another person. By fostering a culture where others actively seek out feedback of others, the better the result will be. The different viewpoints that others have are going to find different ways to attack a problem. They're going to find different creative solutions than just one person. By constantly asking, what else can we do? You will begin to instill a culture of continuous improvement. There is always opportunity to improve. Always challenge yourself to do better each and every day in each and every event. Now, a very difficult trait is to stay positive by not blaming others. Blaming others can drastically collapse entire group. It destroys trust. The negativity takes roots and festers and destroys groups from the inside. So rather than allow the negativity to take hold, acknowledge the negatives, but remain positive and work the problem. Finally, building an environment of trust is absolutely critical to an organization's success. If you feel that there is a lack of trust, this is something that must be addressed immediately. You will have to have some difficult conversations, but the difficult conversations are necessary for the health of your chapter. And now that we've covered accountability, how do you get committees to do actual work? Well, it starts by having high agreement between yourself as second counselor and the committee chairs. If there is unspoken conflict of priorities, then eventually both sides will be disappointed. This practice of high agreement also transfers down to committees. The committee chairs must have high agreement with their committee members. If we're not all on the same team, we're going to be fighting against each other. So make sure that we get this concept of high agreement with everyone involved. Now, once you have high agreement, make sure that you document this very well. Make it very clear of what the high agreement is. You want to make this a visual thing as well. And you also want to make sure that it's easily accessible so that it can be reviewed often, as it should be. You should also be setting clear expectations with your committee chairs. The committee chairs must have a clearly defined scope in what their work is to be. Now, this is not to say that you create goals and you hand those goals out to your committee chairs, because goal setting is a collaborative and iterative process. And now by setting priorities and having agreement, we've minimized the risk of underperforming committees. But be on the lookout for signs of underperformance. You must accept that difficult conversations will need to take place. To measure underperformance, you're going to have to continually check up on committees. You're going to want to be asking how their work is progressing. Don't wait until the end to find out. And now let's shift our gears a little bit. We've talked about how to get committees to do work, and we've talked about fostering a culture of accountability. And now let's talk about committee prioritization. The graph here is a result of 100 chapters being asked. If you had to keep just 3 committees, which would you keep? You can see that overwhelmingly brotherhood, social, and recruitment are the clear leaders. They're standing out like a sore thumb. These are likely the committees you may want to focus on. But let's also look at some of the other committees that got votes. Why would some chapters say that they need to keep scholarship over another committee? Why would another chapter keep athletics over another committee? Or why would you keep community service over another committee? This comes down to what your chapter identity is. If your identity on campus is that you're the fraternity that dominates sports, by all means, put emphasis on your athletics committee. Ensure that you keep your identity running strong. What is important to your chapter? This is something that you should be discussing with your entire executive board as you're the leaders of your fraternity. You are setting direction on where the chapter is going. You decide what is most important for the chapter in this time. Where does your chapter need to improve most? If your grades are last on campus, then putting more emphasis on scholarship committee is likely needed. And this may mean that you're going to have to decrease emphasis on your social committee because you only have a finite amount of resources. At the end of the day, gentlemen, you can only be leaders in some things. You cannot be leaders in everything. Nor can you improve all facets at the same time. You only have a finite amount of resources. You need to leverage that to the fullest and use it effectively. And to do that, you're going to have to prioritize one thing over another. Now I have a few more suggestions for you to close out this module for some things to keep in the back of your mind. The 5 P's. Prior planning prevents poor performance. Take a holistic view of the chapter's events for the whole year or the whole semester. You want to ensure that everyone is not pushing off their work until the last few weeks of a semester, because then everyone's stretched thin, time is tight, everyone has schoolwork that they must get done, finals are approaching. You want to take a holistic view and be able to spread those events out throughout the whole year. Double programming. What events can kill 2 birds with 1 stone? By doing this, you maximize the use of your events. This is how you can accomplish more with the same amount of resources. Instead of having a traditional sorority mixer where you're inviting a sorority over for a barbecue, instead, why don't you plan a community service event where you all go to the local animal shelter? This way you can bond over the puppies and the kittens and also knock out community service hours, and you're providing good to the community. Finally, SMART goals. This is something that you will see multiple times, and there's a reason for it. It's important that you consider SMART goals with your personal work and also the work with your committees. Now we have a module just around goal setting itself, in which we will dive deeper into this topic. I hope that you all took away something from this to improve your work. We will have a Q&A session, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.